Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be discussing a solved murder case. So I know I have been doing unsolved mysteries and disappearances, so I feel like it's time to switch it up and talk about a case that I personally really relate to, and it means a lot to me, so I would like to talk about it and make you all aware of the person we're discussing today. So today I'm going to be discussing the tragic murder of Christina Grimmie. Christina Grimmie was just 22 years old when she was savagely murdered by an obsessed fan at one of her concerts. Just when she was getting into the stardom world and she had so much potential and she was going to make it really big in the industry. So let's talk about Christina. So Christina was born on March 12th, 1994 in New Jersey to her parents Tina and Albert Grimmie. She also had a brother named Marcus, and they were part Italian and part Romanian. Her mother worked as a receptionist and her father worked at a communications company, and they were a very religious family. So they were Christian and they would regularly go and pray and attend church at the Fellowship Alliance Chapel, which was based in New Jersey. Christina was hugely into animals and she was actually an animal rights activist. So she took part in lots of fundraisers to make awareness and to protect animals. And when she passed, she actually received the Christina Grimmie Animal Medical Fund Award in her name, just to honour all the amazing work that she did. So Christina started her YouTube channel in 2009 at age 15, and her channel was called Zelda X Love 64. Now, she said that she made this channel so that people could connect with her music, and she was obviously very passionate about singing. I will link her channel down below as it's still going on today, and she has all of her amazing covers on there that she'd done. So in 2010, she grew to fame after she posted a cover of Nelly's Just a Dream, which received over 8 million views. And she was then recognised by Selena Gomez and Selena Gomez's mother, and she was signed to her. So her career really started to take off at this point, and she then went on to work alongside Selena Gomez, the Jonas Brothers, and she even appeared on the Ellen Show to talk about her success. So she was actively being pursued in the music industry and things were really taking off for her. In 2011, she released her first made song called Find Me. She actually moved to LA in 2012 when she was 18 because her career was taking off and she wanted to be in the central where it was all happening, and so she could really focus on her music. By 2013, Christina had more than 375 million views and 2 million channel subscribers. She was releasing songs, music videos, and she came out with her own album. In 2014, she appeared on The Voice, which was the American version, and she finished in third place. Shortly after this, she was signed with Island Records, which are a massive major label debut. So she was officially in the business and she was becoming recognised in the music industry, and she was really known by the top stars at that time, such as the Jonas Brothers, Selena Gomez, and her and Selena Gomez were actually really good friends. I think they were the same sort of age, and I think they just really connected through that and with their music, so they had a really good friendship. So let's talk about June 10th, 2016. Christina was performing at the Plaza Live, which was a music venue in Orlando, Florida. She was joined by the popular music band Before You Exit, and she was kind of the extra. So Before You Exit were the main band, it was their concert, and she was the guest star, I suppose you would say. So she had previously toured with this band Before You Exit, so they were very familiar with each other, and she just kind of came on at the end, and of course this attracted her own fan base because they knew about the show, so her fans were also there to watch Before You Exit and to see Christina. Now, Christina made an Instagram story earlier on in that day, and she basically shouts out the venue and the concert, and she says, "Come and meet me after. I'm doing a meet and greet. Come and meet me. I'd love to meet you guys." And she looks really, really excited and really happy in the video. So she's obviously using her platform as a way to attract her fans to come and see her because she wants to meet the fans that she has. So at 10:24 p.m., Christina was at her meet and greet, and it was a small room of the venue, and she was kind of signing autographs and she was hugging people, she was talking to her fans, and they were all queuing up. Now, majority of the people there were teenage girls, teenage boys, or females due to the kind of singer that Christina was. But at 10:24 p.m., a man in a red checkered shirt and a cap was next in line. Christina opened her arms, and that is when she was shot 5 times by this man using a 9mm Glock pistol. One hit her in the chest, and two hit her in the head, and the other two missed. Now, Christina did obviously not see the weapons that this offender had, because that's the last thing you'd be expecting when you're going to hug someone, and I think she was really excited just to be meeting all of her fans. So she did not see the weapons being drawn. So Christina then fell to the ground and was bleeding out. Her brother Marcus actually attacked the offender, and they had a scuffle on the floor. He tried to grab the gun so that he could stop him from shooting anyone else, and that is when the offender got free from Marcus's grip, pulled himself against the wall, and fatally shot himself in the head. So of course the whole venue, everyone was going crazy, and everyone lost it because there's been a shooting, and everyone thought this was a mass shooting. So the police were quickly called, and they came to Christina's rescue. She was rushed to the Orlando Medical Center, but at 11 p.m. she was confirmed dead, which is very sad that she did not survive this attack. The police later determined this a homicide, but of course the offender had killed himself, so he was not able to be held accountable for, which is just such a coward's way out of committing something like that. So when police looked into this murder investigation, they found the perpetrator to be 27-year-old Kevin James Lobel. And it turns out that Kevin was infatuated with Christina. He was completely obsessed with her. The police obviously identified his family and his friends, and they told the police some really disturbing things. We'll get into that in a moment, but Kevin James Lobel, he travelled from his home in St. Petersburg, Florida, all the way to Orlando, which was about 100 miles, and he done this by getting a taxi. When they found him and took him away, they found two guns. One was the 9mm Glock pistol that he used to kill Christina. He had a whole magazine of ammunition, and they also found a large hunting knife. Police Chief John Mina said that he thought the perpetrator had plans to travel back to his home in St. Petersburg. Now, I don't understand this because it seems like he was looking to travel home, which is so strange because I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with that and then just simply get a taxi back home. But that's what the chief inspector said he thought was happening, that he was going to commit this crime and then just go home. So I'm interested to see why he then killed himself when his plan was to go home. Maybe he just realised the extent of what he had done, or I don't know, but it's interesting to wonder why. Now, shockingly, at this venue, many customers were questioned after Christina's murder, and it was found that they were really casual about entering and who was entering and people's possessions and bags. So apparently they literally just done a quick look over your bag. There were no metal detectors, so especially with celebrities and concerts, it's quite common to have metal detectors to make sure that no one has anything on them that is going to be harmful, because you're in a venue with thousands and thousands of people and there's famous people performing. So obviously it's kind of like an airport where that's it's not likely, but it's very possible that someone could try to attack at that venue. So apparently they weren't very bothered about security and they didn't pat anyone down. It was just a sort of quick look in the bag and that was it. And that's what makes it so much sadder, that this could have been avoided if the security were on their game. Of course, it's not their fault that someone murdered someone, but if there was more security, then maybe this could have been avoided. Customers also said that they seemed more concerned about drinks and food being brought in, which is just so sad. I know this happens quite a lot when you go to festivals. That's something that they look at quite a lot. And the cinema, obviously they don't want you to bring your own food, and it does seem that they're more concerned about their company's revenue and their money than they are some people's safety sometimes. Police spoke to the other concert goers at the time that Kevin was there, and a woman actually said that when she was queuing to see Christina, she saw Kevin and he did seem quite nervous and a bit creepy. And she actually smiled at him, just as you do when you see strangers, and she smiled at him just to be nice, and she said it was just really surreal because obviously she had no idea what he was about to do. So after police looked into Kevin, they found that he had no previous criminal history. He wasn't known by police apart from one incident, which was a domestic disturbance. Apparently, he had a really heated argument with his father's girlfriend, but I don't know too much information about that. I can only see that on one source and it doesn't really go into detail. But at the time, there was no history of violence and he didn't appear to have any diagnosis of any mental health issues, which I think is important to note. Not to say that he didn't have any, but he wasn't seeing anyone for any issues and he wasn't known to have this on his record, which is just so scary to think that he was capable of doing something like this. And we'll get into that in a moment. But this is where it gets really creepy. So Kevin had one friend apparently who he worked at his part-time job at Best Buys with, and his friend was called Corey Dennington. And Corey told detectives that Kevin spent literally every waking hour watching videos of Christina and looking at her social media. He basically said that he was a complete weirdo and he got really, really defensive when anyone would ask him about Christina and his obsession. So his colleagues all kind of felt the same, that he was just always going on about Christina, and he started saying that he was playing video games with her online and that he'd met her at a concert before, but this was found to be incorrect. Anyway, so although he was acting obsessed with her, you know, people do have obsessions with fans. It doesn't mean that they're going to kill them or do anything heinous to them. So his colleagues found him a bit weird, but you know, they didn't think anything too much of it, apart from the fact that he did seem really obsessed. So Corey actually went to their manager at Best Buys and told his manager that he had concerns about Kevin. I'm not sure why, but he just said that he was always watching videos of Christina, and his manager said that he had noticed it as well. But of course, there's not much he can do. So his other colleagues described him as extremely awkward and detached, and this makes sense because he didn't really speak to his colleagues apart from when it was about Christina. Now, his father described him as a hermit who very rarely left his room unless it was for work. Apparently, he would spend every other waking moment in his bedroom, which we can say is safe to assume he was just stalking Christina online. But what's interesting is that his father and his family deny any involvement in his obsession. They said that they hadn't even heard him talk about Christina, they had never watched The Voice, and he had never disclosed his obsession to his family. So he obviously kept this extremely private, apart from at work, because it was obviously so much that it was becoming noticeable. Now, this is where it gets so creepy. So Kevin actually drastically altered his appearance in a bid to attract Christina. He had lost upwards of 50 pounds, he had a hair transplant, and he had laser eye surgery. So he drastically tried to alter how he looked. Now, this is why I just find it so bizarre. If he really liked her this much, why didn't he just try and approach her? You never know what could have happened. That being said, obviously I'm glad that he didn't, because he is a murderer. But I'm just saying, I don't understand why he needed to kill her. If he liked her that much, why didn't he just admire her from afar, or at an absolute must, try and approach her and talk to her as a fan? Surely that is something. Surely that is something, knowing that she knows who you are and acknowledges you. She did not know him at all. She didn't know who he was. So I don't understand his thought process, that he thought that he needed to kill her. So Christina was buried on the 16th of June at the Berlin Cemetery in New Jersey, and thousands of people attended. Thousands of friends, relatives and fans all attended. It was a very open funeral because she had so much fans and so many friends. So a lot of popular names spoke out in regard to Christina, and it was just a really, really sad day. Christina's family opened the Christina Grimmie Foundation in 2017, which was basically to teach people about gun awareness and basically just to raise awareness on gun violence, because it is such a popular thing in the US, unfortunately. 6 months after Christina's murder, her family actually filed a lawsuit against the security company and the Plaza Live due to the fact that the security was so poor. Unfortunately, the request was denied under the grounds that the Florida law does not allow business owners to be liable for attacks on their property, which is so sad because it's not their fault, but obviously if they had better security, this could have been avoided. So that's the end of the case. I felt really passionate about this case. I haven't actually seen it covered much at all, so that was another reason why I really wanted to tell her story. As I say, I will link Christina's channel down below for you to check that out. So thank you for watching this video. I also want to say thank you so much to everyone that has liked, comment, subscribed on any of my videos. I really, really appreciate it, and I'd love to know what sort of cases you would like to see filmed, whether that be unsolved mysteries, murders or solved cases. I know there's quite a big divide on some people like the solved aspect and some people like the unsolved, so please let me know what sort of cases you would like to see. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you next time.